So I decided that the interior is just a little bit too two-dimensional. I'm going to add a little bit more interior detail to it. Like, you know, the armrest. That actually is probably all I'm really going to add is the armrest. You know, pull it out away from the door panel a little bit. Everything else can be detail painted to make it stand out. But yeah, the door card is just a little bit too plain Jane. And I'm going to do just a simple thing to help enhance that. So what I've got here, I've got a post-it note that I trimmed down a little bit so it fits better inside the door panel. I'm going to lay it in there at the bottom edge. And you don't necessarily have to use the sticky edge on it. I'm just using it here in this case to help ensure that it doesn't move on me, but you could probably do it without that. And then a pencil, and what I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to do that graphite transfer thing. So we're just going to drag the pencil back and forth on what's underneath there so that it shows me where that panel is. So it shows me where the, yeah, I think, well, you might not be able to see it yet because of where the camera is. The other side of the passenger compartment might be hiding it from view. But it's doing what I wanted it to do, and I'll show you here in a second outside of the vehicle. All right, that's well enough. Okay, and I think you can see. All right, so this is would be the upper edge of that door handle on the driver's side door. So the armrest is here. This is the upper edge of the armrest, and it goes below it this way. And then that door handle, the interior door handle that comes from the armrest up to the upper corner of the door panel. So what I'm going to attempt to do is make this piece of it out of cardstock, and you know, maybe layer a few thicknesses of it to get the dimension away from the door panel down here, and then the outermost layer will create the door handle pole that goes up to this corner of the door. So this might show it a little better in the light. So there's our template, and it fits pretty darn close, right? So what I'll get is some thin cardstock, some evergreen scale models polystyrene sheet that I have. I've got a few thicknesses, so I may use several, because if you look, there's a bit of a detail around the top edge of this door panel. And what I'm gonna do, so I'll use several layers to get a thickness away from the door for this lower portion of it, right? So that would be your armrest. So you gotta have thickness coming out away from it to rest your arm on it, correct? And then the outer edge of it will be this whole piece here, because that's your door pull. So when the door's open and you pull it shut, you got to be able to wrap your hand around that to pull it. So the armrest here, then it opens up, and then it makes contact at the top. So it's contact down here and contact at this upper corner. And then all of this behind that is open to the door panel itself. So we'll get several thicknesses to come out away from the door. And then the very last layer, I'll use a thinner sheet, and we'll trim off from our template this upper edge. That's about, maybe a millimeter, right? And it'll give us that relief, if that makes sense. So you'll get a bit of that little detail there will show up after we put it all together. we'll come back when I get it all cut out and glued together and situated. And then, once it's in place, then we'll proceed to painting this. Et voila! A new cutting mat. Yeah, I found this one. I like the whiter background. I think it's going to be better for recording things. Except in this case where I've got white pieces, I had to use the Post-it note as a backdrop to help see that. But you can see, so these are 4 layers of, gosh, I don't even know what the thickness is on these. Let's see. Maybe. It's probably 40 thou. Yeah, I think it's 40 thou. So 4 layers of 40 thou. And then these are just 1 layer of 10 thou. I still need to trim a little bit more to get an edge. Now this is the photo of the car that I owned back in 1989. And it is slightly different in the appearance of this one. You can see that the door pleats on mine were vertical, and these door pleats are horizontal. Everything else is pretty close. And see, this has got a bit of a relief line to it. So there's a thicker portion, and then this very thin, like, I don't know, that's probably a millimeter on top. And it's not really shown here. So I'm wondering if in the process of molding this, they tried to replicate that rounded edge. So from about right here to the top of the armrest is like a bullnose, like a quarter round. And I'm wondering, maybe they tried to replicate that in the molding process. But I don't know. So now I have a decision to make. Because I cut these to lay on there and kind of give. Well, I don't know if this is going to show up very well at all now. All right, so this one hasn't been trimmed yet, but see the look. All right, see the look of that edge. I don't know if you can see it or not. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to replicate here. And but my reference photo doesn't really show that. So now I have a decision to make. Am I gonna stick with the look of the kit, or am I gonna try more to replicate my own car from back in the day? And one thing I noticed, okay, so down here is the window crank, and that looks nothing like a window crank. So, and I have a few left over. I ordered some from Matthew Inman at mcvproducts.net. He's got a 3D printed sheet with about 4 different window cranks on it. And I still have some of those left because I used a couple in the D50 pickup, and I've also used a couple on the Pontiac GTO build that I've stalled on. So I've got several left. I might try to pull one of those out and stick it in there for a better, more authentic look. Anyway, that's where I'm at in this process. And the other thing is, I probably do still need to use these because I just remembered I need to eliminate this portion so that you've got the grab handle. Right now that's a solid piece, whereas on the car itself it would not be. You got to be able to reach behind it. And then there's a mounting point. So what I may do, I may cut most of the way through, leave it attached, glue this on, and then from the back side finish those cuts to get rid of this thickness here. Yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. Not applied yet, or painted, obviously, but I think once they get into place, it's going to really improve the look of that door panel. I might have a little bit of shaping left to do on it. If I can get this thing to lay straight, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, anyway, that's about as straight as it's going to get until I get some cement on it to hold it in place. Alright, let's do it like this. There. What you think? Now it's got dimension to it. Okay, to my eye, that definitely looks the part. Now, once it's painted, it'll look like it was made that way. Alright, I painted the interior bucket, but then I ran into a bit of an issue with the driver and passenger seats. Not entirely because I've added these armrests, but they did have some factor in it. Actually, they had the biggest factor in it. So I've really had to sand down. In fact, I didn't even sand it. I used a flat rat tail file, to remove a lot of this door side of the driver's seat. But then I also removed some of the interior side of this seat where it hits the center console. The problem I was having was when they were installed, they were sitting a little bit twisted. They were both sitting a little canted, so I had to remove a lot of that material to get it to clear the armrest. And then on the inside edge, there's a bit of a round over near the floor where the center console meets the floor of the car, and I think that was interfering slightly as well. So I removed all that, and now as you can see, the driver's seat, it's still got just a slight amount of twist to it, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. That's pretty much their final positions in there. You can see that there were holes. There are actually these pegs in the bottom of the chassis that come up through those holes, and then the seats go onto those posts. So I can get those holes lined up. I can get that lined up over the hole, but it's still got just that slight bit of twist. I might need to file just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And then obviously I'm going to have to repaint everything. So actually the center of the seats, I resprayed it already once. The center of the seats is a lighter brown, and then the outer sides are darker brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off the lighter color on all the seats, and then respray it with the darker brown around it. And I did the dash already. The dashboard is looking really good. I think I might need to take some flat black around the steering wheel. Looking at either flat black around the outside, or maybe flat black on the parts that hold the wheel to the column. It's kind of, see, it's a semi-gloss black that I used for the whole thing, and now I'm thinking maybe I need to go with flat black on the 3 posts that hold the ring. Anyway, the rest of it's looking really good. I need to add a little bit of a crystal clear to the gauges. Those are the decal gauges, and then the 3, I don't know if you can see them in the camera or not, the 3 smaller gauges in between your tach and your speedometer. I just used a toothpick that I whittled down with a very narrow point on it, and then just dip some white paint into those. There is some kind of a texture in those. They don't provide decals for just those 3 since they're so tiny. So I just hit that little bit of texture with the white paint. it works. You wouldn't know what it says. I mean, you're not ever going to see it that closely anyway. And in fact, I did on the turn signal lever. I actually hit that with a little bit of white paint too to replicate whatever writing there was on there. I've got another photo on my laptop, not of my car, but of a similar Camaro from the driver's side, just like this one, but it's the angle of the photo is a little bit different, where you can see more of the levers and the tilt lever for the steering wheel. Anyway, I think that turned out all right. So let me get back to finishing these seats and repainting everything, and then we'll get it all glued in and we'll go from there. All right? All right, so that's what it looks like assembled for the interior. Disregard this goldish color in the back. What I tried to do, I tried to use some embossing powder that was it was supposed to replicate this cloth, almost camel color that's on my seats from the original car. This has got a bit of a gold tone in it. It's a brown, but it's got this gold flake, and I thought it would work really good. And I first tried it in what is basically the trunk area, and it's too gold, and it turned into almost like a paste. I don't know. Yeah, you can see the reflection off the top of the seat backs here. It is not what I was going for. I'm not gonna mess with it now. I'm just gonna leave it. It is what it is. I'll make the best of it. In fact, what I might end up doing now, I might actually try to tint the rear window, just using Tamiya smoke or something like that. Give it just a bit of a tint so this isn't as obvious in the back. But, oh, there goes my photo. Hold on. Move that. But, here's the interior. I'm not getting enough light in there, maybe. I'll get some photos and paste them in here for you.